Welcome to tutorial 5 and part 2. This is a more detailed go-through of the RESTful API of What.io. If you don't have a generic good understanding of APIs, I ask you to first see part 1, which more explains the basics of API. If you are already very well known of APIs and you don't see wasting your time with that, you can go straight into this part 2. So in part 2, we will go through quite detailed what is included at this moment of time, what functionality there is in the REST API of What.io. So basically what we offer in terms of software to software, computer to computer interaction between mobile phones, IoT devices, microcontrollers, etc., and how you can integrate What.io's device management, data retrieval for NFC and QR product information, basically getting automation in DPP. How to get started. So we have a documentation website. It's developers.what.io. That's basically where you have your test bench, where you can test things out and learn more in detail by exploring that. But what you first need to do is you need to sign up and create an account. Just go to What.io. There is a link for free registration. And then when you have this registration information, you can obtain an API key. So without the key, you cannot use the API. So in the business world, and when you run this in your professional company, you need to have a minimum gold subscription to have API access. And also there is an API subscription fee. But for evaluation, education, pre-study work, just contact us at info@what.io and we will send you a test key for a limited time for the development. Also the base URL for APIs, it's https://api.what.io and v1 to start making requests. When you have done the first token, you need actually to get a bearer token after the registration. It's very easy after registration, as you have the demo account. As mentioned, it's free but limited. You can actually generate this token after the confirmation from us. So just send us the actual email and you will create your bearer token. The bearer token is unique to you, and this is your identity that is used to enable the communication with the What.io system through the API. The bearer token also needs to be used in your code, and if you want to use our developer site, the sandbox, you need to authorize first before you can use the different commands. So how to generate this token? So you use the user and post to get the bearer token from the system. You enter the email you register with, you add your password, and when it's device name, it's actually not used at this moment. You can write not accessible or not used or whatever. It will not register any device, but a real person at this moment. You can click on try it and then add the information in the value fields. You copy the bearer token from the response body 200. So if you log in with your email and password and it's correct, the server will respond with the code 200, and the body where you can copy is the bearer token. You don't see that here on the screen because we, of course, don't want to reveal anybody's bearer token. But it's very important, like any kind of token or anything, you need to keep it safe. It's your API identity. So you can go back to the page and authorize, paste your token value in the field, add bearer before the token you copied, and click authorize. The button should turn green, and then you should be ready to go. This means that when that setup is done, you can start in our developer arena, our sandbox, to start to play around. At its core, the What.io REST API allows developers to perform specific actions like resolving NFC product codes, get and post product data, or retrieving specific database-related information. by making these requests to predefined endpoints. The server processes these requests and returns data in a JSON object or a JSON format, which is widely supported. It's very easy to work with, and if you're a developer, you are most likely very well aware of JSON already. So base URL, all requests to the WhatIO REST API should be directed to the following base URL. And every request must be authenticated using an API key, and the key must be included in the request headers. Again, making requests, you have get to retrieve data, like getting details of an NFC tag or list all devices. You can post things, you create new data, you can write NFC data or submit a QR code image for scanning, etc. You can put, which means updating existing data, modify device settings, or you can delete and remove data. That is, of course, also very limited at this moment, because as we think and talk about DPPs, it's a circular product lifecycle. So delete is very limited because we want to have traceability backwards. So example of a request flow is that you as a client, you make a request, the client application sends the request to the WhatIO API, the API processes the request, and the server receives the request and performs the appropriate action. Example, scanning a QR code. The API response will be in JSON format containing the requested data or status message. So there is a different type of sections of the WhatIO documentation and the sandbox what you can use. So there is an hierarchical structure of this test bench, so you can try the different calls and see the outcome. So basically you can play around in this environment to see what you have, typically what opportunities you have with the API. So you can execute calls like a get post, and you can see the JSON directly on the screen. It's very helpful before you implement any code in your own solutions. So in this chapter, we will not include too many details of this, but we will showcase a little bit what you have the ability to do. So let's start with the product section of the RESTful WhatIO API. And you have abilities to actually send that to the endpoint products. And if we start with get, you can get parameters like product ID. This will basically return detailed information about the specific product, including all its metadata, name, description, creation time, etc. You do need to know the internal product ID of the actual product. It's a part of the product URL. And in our test case here, it's 1839. Please observe that for your test, your product in your team, you need to use your own product ID. It can be very useful for developing your own proprietary app, and then you can only get product information from valid databases of products. So here is a QR code also, which showcases how this actual function looks like. So that's the get product ID function. Obviously, you would like to get out the metadata. So the JSON file itself, when you run that get file, it will include all the standard parameters for the particular product ID. This will be model or batch level for products, not in this case, the unique item level. That comes later. From this JSON, the application needs to present any available data according to desired UX. So this is an example how the JSON looks like when you send the get command to the server. There is also an API products command that you can test out and execute, get API products. It doesn't have any parameters. It will send back a JSON with all products available in the actual active team. Of course, the API in this, depending on your setting and your token and bearer token, you will actually be part of a team. So you can actually get back information about what kind of products is available. Please be aware that it could be a large database and a large file. It's a good functionality if you want to build a catalog or have a local file or edge system. You can actually export all the included product in your database. But of course, as your product database in WhatIO grows, it can be quite extensive and quite big. Get API product extension. It's quite useful when you want to add additional information about the product. What IO is a relational database, extended data sets like category, team, or brand information, and these can then be added to and get into a JSON file. Yeah, and delete, it's self-explanatory. We have, though, a quite high level of security on the delete. It's of course something we don't like when you have traceability in a solution. Posting data is the opposite. We can create new products from the outside into the WhatIO database. It will require product name, product number, potentially GTIN, category ID, etc. The category ID needed to be found, of course, before you can do that. Explore the team section of the WhatIO. Then we are more into the user side of the API. So it's a multi-user, multi-team environment. You can have access as an individual to various teams in WhatIO. And this will help you basically switch team. And you can only have, in the API, you can only have one team active at a time. So teams is, of course, something which you have to be able to know about and set in your system. But this is also something which is very useful. Same as categories. We described that in many other episodes. So categories is similar. You can actually build categories. It was called client in the past, so there might be some code that still relates to the name client, but it's all about the category in the API. So for instance, with a batch ID for factory location, regional sales departments, these can be both handled and modified and actually created new ones with these parameters. Yeah, so it works basically the same way, of course. Material is a separate database in WhatIO, and just in the same way, you have the ability to get, post, and edit this material and showcase all the materials that are used in a specific team, because materials can be both global and public material, which is something we use for generic materials, but it can also be very team-related, individual brand-related materials. So here is just a very short show how you can post API material, and that will create a new record in the material database. So it's very useful if you have your own external database or you have everything located in your ERP or something, and you can easily send a post API as soon as a new material is done in your parallel system or in the system you already have. It could automatically create the same material and keep it updated in the WhatIO database. And the same goes in the opposite. You want to get the material ID from a specific material, and then it generates a JSON again with all the material properties for a specific material ID. So now units, and now it gets a little bit more interesting from a production point of view. So with the unit part of the API, you can actually get the serial number, you can add new units, and the unit API is really where we handle the unique identifiers and the fabric unique items. This part of the API is extensively used by our microcontrollers that program the NFC tags in a factory environment. It's also used by our own application, our own mobile phone app to program, because you need to have a relationship between these and let the server generate the token and these kind of things. So you need to know the ID for your team, obviously, and that you get with another get function. But the serial number you can, of course, extract from the actual NFC tag, which you see now, the serial number. And then when you have that, you can see if there is a product verification, and you can also get it tokenized in a way. So in this example, to the right, NFC tools, where we actually took the same NFC tag and I just showcase the serial number Also, you can see there's two records. There is the HTTPS, which is the unique URL that actually links to the DPP data in the server. And then there is a token as record 2, which, of course, through the API then been generated by the server. So this is to remove the possibility of replications and spoofing. You can also, if you have a microcontroller, you can actually do delete all before you actually read. If they have a spoofing device, that will actually kill the opportunity for it to read a token, because it will be deleted. And obviously something which is burned in and locked cannot be deleted, so that delete all function will be disregarded. Post API unit, it will actually create a fabricated unit, a unique identifier in the database, and it will generate a unique token based on the product URL and the serial number in the actual NFC tag. So we have a little bit of a C++ example we used using our Arduinos for Incendo. So this is the version 1 of the Incendo. Incendo can be found in many ways because it's basically open technology we use. So in this example, we would like to automate the programming of NFC tags. So our issue in our factory is that we need to program 10,000 unique items or units per day. So we would like to have these smart microcontrollers doing that without too much human interference, or actually no human interference. But we still want to make it very advanced. We want to have them as a unique product URL, and we want to have them tokenized for authentication when we do it. So this process requires both reading the serial number from the tag, creating the product URL, and generating a token, and then finally take all that information and program that to the NFC tag itself. So I will not go super detailed into every line of code, but in this C++ environment, of course, you have to run some kind of Wi-Fi, because you need to have the ability to get out on the web or a cable. And you need to include a JSON library, so you have the ability to interact with the JSON format. We use HTTPS 443, and the host is what.io, as you see in the beginning of the definitions of the constants. We also define tokens, and of course that bearer, you see, it's faded out, but that needs to be part of the call, otherwise the server will not send anything back. In this case, there is Arduino R2 Wi-Fi, and we want that to run the whole process. So there is a main loop. So in the system is armed all the time. It's basically glowing red in the LED, and it's waiting for a virgin NFC tag to appear. What then will happen? So this is the process it's running, is that there is a loop where it will read the unique ID of the NFC chip. It will then post that to the API and get the product ID and the token. We need to deserialize the JSON that we receive so we know what's in it. We do display the result on the little LED display, and then we write back 2 registers to the NFC tag, both the unique URL and the token that was generated by the API. Yeah, so the code is obviously a little bit longer than this. And again, I will not go through every single item, but basically the part of the left code is set up and using the LED screen just to flash up what is going on, what's happening. And the right side is how we use the API to do these different steps. So we trigger a function called handle read mode in our code. And by the way, all this code we are making available on our GitHub page. So if you want to develop your own solutions like this, or you want to buy these solutions from us, you will also get the source code so you can continue to develop them further and tailor them to your specific needs. Yeah, and the fetch token API, that's basically using the post request. So we will get back the JSON file, we deserialize the JSON file, and when we have done that, we have both the registers we need, both the full-fledged unique product URL, and we have the token, the security token, that is actually generated by the server. So when we have the JSON completed, we can create the content of these two registers. And yeah, finally, we do the handle write mode, where we write that back to the NFC tag that have been coming close to the programming device, the Incendo, and that will actually burn it in. And then on the display, we will say NFC write done, success, and then it will actually immediately go back into a mode where it's ready for the next chip to arrive. If you go then back into the web administration, when this kind of activity happen, you will see that it will generate under the product's fabricated unit section, every single item that is tokenized and unique will be added to the list of fabricated units. These will just bump up as the system goes along. Yeah, and you have the ability here, if you want to now see how one of these looks like, you can just scan the QR code with your camera on your iPhone and see how this DPP actually looks like. So that is a very automated way where you can, in a fabricated environment, just have this running. And obviously you can have hundreds of these microcontrollers connected up to to the Whatio API and run them simultaneously. Yeah, I hope that give you a little bit better understanding. I really emphasize you to contact us for discussing more your needs for API and for development and getting integration into our system. We can then give you the access code so you can start trying. And yeah, we look forward to work in an open, collaborative way and build these kind of infrastructures and system solutions for the future of all DPP to make it a better circular economy and increase the circularity of products and hopefully make this world a better place. Thank you very much.